Start the program. And for those of you who are joining us on YouTube, just know that you could also join us on Facebook Live at Lillian's Radio Show. So you can go to facebook.com/Lillian's Radio Show. How many of you, today we're going to talk about pain management. Did you ever think that you can manage pain with food? You know, there's so many different ways that people try to manage pain, but let's add something different to our life that is the side effects are pretty controllable. The side effects are actually wonderful for you. So today, Dr. Fuhrman is in the classroom, so fasten your seatbelts because we're going to learn and grow together. Time to dance. Here we go.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be right here, right here. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for you.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who have been tuning in since 2011 or maybe just yesterday for the first time, welcome back. But if this is the first time that you have joined the classroom, the Lillian McDermott Radio Show /classroom, then please know we've been waiting for you. This is a safe place you can go to when you need a friend. That would be me and our teachers. And it is my sole purpose in life to give to, I just went off the chain there. So it is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal. And it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as our viewing friends, you can join us at facebook.com/Lillian's Radio Show and be a part of the broadcast where you can interact with our wonderful teachers. And so today, with this wonderful teacher who is world-renowned, New York Times bestselling author, researcher, just a wonderful friend to have in the classroom. Since 2015, every month, he's up bright and early today because he's bringing this message of hope and healing. And so the question I ask today, every time he's on, is, have you had your G-bombs today? Because today of all days, with the crisis in pain management, the crisis on the side effects, the addictions with opioids, today we're going to start thinking about outside the box, different ways that we can heal our bodies, reduce inflammation, and start living a life that we desire. And who better than Dr. Joel Fuhrman, who is our wonderful teacher in the classroom, and he's up and early in beautiful California from his retreat center. And I want him to give us a tour of the back later on once we start talking about the retreat center, because it's so beautiful. I'm looking forward to going. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Dr. Joel Fuhrman is going to talk to us how to alleviate pain with healthy food. Welcome, Dr. Fuhrman, to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show /classroom.
Good morning.
So nice to see you. And what a beautiful view. What a beautiful view you showed me earlier.
Yeah, it's nice here. It's like, what time is it? It's about 6:10 in the morning. So it's just going to see the sunrise here. It's going to be nice.
Very good. We'll all get to share it with Dr. Joel Fuhrman. And I want to remind all of you who are watching live at Lillian's Radio Show on Facebook that if you have a question, type in a Q, and then Robert's going to post it on so that I can see it. And we'll ask the question for Dr. Fuhrman when the time is right. But today we're going to be talking about food and pain. And tell us the association, Dr. Fuhrman, of how important nutrition is when it comes to pain management.
Well, you can go through all the common causes of pain, from headaches to back pain, and we know that food is the primary factor that pretty much instigated everything. I think the first thing we could mention is that headaches themselves aren't something to be feared. It's the headache itself is something the body is trying to fix or right, because your body produces free radical and free radical-like compounds and other pro-inflammatory compounds that the brain tries to get rid of. And if you don't get enough sleep, if you expose your body to toxins, the brain's going to build up more toxic compounds. And when the compounds are coming out of the body's trying to get them from their storage sites, the interstitial sites, and move them out and remove them, that's when it can hurt. So a toxic person could feel pain. And we can use drugs like, Esket, Vanquish, Excedrin, Furanol, Furoset, Midrin, whose active ingredients are barbiturates and caffeine and narcotics. But all that does is stop the pain by pushing the toxins back into the body. So the more you do that, the more you just set yourself up for more recurrent and frequent headaches. And people who put on suppressive medications, essentially the medical care treatment to headaches is to give people more toxins so your body doesn't have the ability to remove toxins. So you get the body more toxic, and you ingrain headaches so you have them all the time, and you've got to be on medications the rest of your life. And you got to be on stronger medications. It's like you can have a caffeine withdrawal headache, and you can take more caffeine to suppress the headache, but that's going to make the caffeine withdrawal headache even worse the next time, because you have now more caffeine on board trying to suppress the headache. So it's true that the methodology to relieve pain in general, through this natural approach, has to do with removing the body's burden of metabolic wastes and toxins, so it doesn't have to be painful when they're coming out, and then gradually weaning off medications. And it might sometimes necessitate going through some episodes of pain or headaches in order to get headache-free for the rest of your life. So I could say, that it's rare that I've ever not seen a person with chronic migraines who wasn't able to completely cure themselves and get well through a Nutritarian approach.
Yes.
And sometimes we might combine that with some type of, other type of body work for the neck and head and shoulders, that to help blood flow get to those areas. But it's, I remember once I had a girl who missed 2 years of school. She was I think she missed 9th and 10th grade, and she was hospitalized for her headaches being so severe in bed. And they even put her in the hospital and give her intravenous experimental drugs at a hospital in Boston. And then after a month, she was working with me. She was somewhat better, but after 2 months, she was totally better. Went back to school again, became a runner. Being in bed for 2 years, she started running on the school track team. Then I think she ran for the school presidency. She went to college. She had a really good life after being in bed for 2 years, unable to go to school with her headaches from being so severe. So I've seen some. That's just one example. I've seen such unbelievable cases of chronic migraines, and it's almost like barbaric the way they're treated by the medical profession, that they're just given more and more drugs and nobody ever gets to the cause of why this person is toxic. And the fact that they have headaches, that's, indicative that they're doing things wrong and their body's under chronic stress. And nobody tries to remove the stress. It just gives more medications and more medications, that you make this person into a drug addict who can't stop taking medications. And that's the way we deal with migraines.
Well, but as one of the things that I hear, Dr. Fuhrman, is communication. What can you imagine what your relationship would be? I know you've been happily married for a long time. Can you imagine what your relationship would be like if your wife, every time she wanted to say something to you, you would say, "Stop, I don't want to hear it. Stop, I don't want to hear it." And you just turn to somebody else and communicate with somebody else. That's the same thing. Our body is speaking to us. Our body is saying there's something wrong. My body is saying, my back hurts, my joints hurt, my head hurts. And we say, "Stop, I don't want to hear it. Let me do something else that has nothing to do with the reason why, the root cause of why my body is inflamed. And there could be multiple reasons why the body is inflamed or we're having a side effect. But when you add the Nutritarian lifestyle, when you add a nutritional component, now how are we listening? How do you know, Dr. Fuhrman, that the issues that are happening in the body are not associated with a food allergy or food sensitivity, or perhaps maybe do you investigate through a food diary? How do you isolate the issues?
Well, it depends on what we're talking about. I mean, food sensitivities or food allergy almost never manifest themselves in chronic migraines or chronic headache syndromes. It's almost always a toxic condition.
Okay.
In other words, how I would do that is if the person was not responding to the overall program and not seeing improvement over a period of 1 or 2 months, then we could look at other avenues. I mean, certainly you don't want to miss something like Lyme disease or some kind of serious other illness, but usually have other symptomatology and other reasons why you should suspect something else other than something is, in other words, we don't look for white elephants right at the beginning. We look for what's chronically most prevalent and obvious, and that's our toxic food environment. So, almost everybody has headaches all the time because they're eating foods that cause headaches. Their whole diet creates a system, and even their allergies and even their sensitivities are magnified because they're not in good health.
Yes.
The first place to start is usually giving a person juices, green juices. I give the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 juice because because when they come in, I can test their skin carotenoid score. And when I see people with a low skin carotenoid score, I know they have headaches. I don't even I ask them. I test their skin carotenoid score, it comes back 50, below 20,000. I'm saying you must have a lot of headaches because your level of nutrients in your body are so incredibly low. You must have a lot of inflammation circulating, And then the purpose of the juicing, of course, is to get their levels of nutrients, because if they eat really healthfully, sure, the levels of nutrients will go up, but it'll take so long to go up, maybe months to get up there where they should be. By juicing, I could accelerate the process via which we get antioxidants and phytochemicals into penetrate the cells, their tissues, and the penetration of the antioxidants and phytochemicals in your skin, as measured by the skin carotenoid score machine, couldn't correspond with the levels of nutrients that penetrating your brain and your kidney and your liver and your other organs and tissues of your body. It takes time. You don't just eat a carrot, juice a carrot and some kale and lettuce and think your level's going to be up in a week. You got to eat that stuff every day for a long time to get those nutrients really to bathe all the inside of all the cells. And, the cells are suffering. And also we have poor oxygenation and distribution of blood flow, and that which accelerates the progression of osteoarthritis, what annoys me, and also headache pain. And, people, it always annoys me. People say, I've got my knee, when my hips and all these things went out because of the sports I did when I was young, because I was a runner or something like that.
Yeah.
That's not true. There's no higher incidence of people who are athletic or fit or who ran. There's higher incidence of those kind of problems. It's really more, it's the combination of a lot of factors, but mostly is diet, because when you have sludging of the blood, you could say the red blood cells stick together like a stack of coins. And when the red blood cells start to stick together, they don't flow into the fine capillaries. And our joints become a, predictor of later problems to occur in your heart, because they see the problems with blood flow early on, because you get degeneration of cartilage and inflammation around the joint, and lack of blood flow to the joint causes the cartilage that lines the joint to deteriorate, and the bone that lines the joint to deteriorate. In other words, what I'm saying right now is that a joint gets its blood flow not by direct blood vessel perfusion, but rather by diffusion through the joint capsule, with the fluid in the joint capsule, surrounded by a capillary network of very, very microscopically fine blood vessels that blood vessels only can squeak through one at a time.
Wow.
And then so the joint has a somewhat marginal blood supply. And when you have a diet that's like the American diet, high in sweets and meats and oils, where your blood doesn't flow and you have a lot of fat in the blood, then you're going to have, over time, the joints are going to see decreased perfusion of nutrients and oxygen first, before your liver, your kidney, your heart. Before you develop atherosclerosis and narrowing the blood vessels to the heart, you're going to see impaired circulation and oxygenation of joint tissue is where it starts. So your back pain and your joint pain could be the first sign that you're eating the wrong diet that's going to eventually result in your heart disease and brain dysfunction and dementia, because the joints are going to see symptoms before your brain sees the symptoms, because the blood supply is so delicate there. You know what I mean?
Wow. That's a great indicator of what's to come. So if any of us are feeling joint pain right now, just know the progression that could happen if you don't listen to that joint pain. We have a question, Dr. Fuhrman, and the question reads, I hear a lot of discussion about mixing certain foods such as melons and with other vegetables, also mixing avocado. They argue it causes gastrointestinal issues, and is there any truth to that?
No, I mean, I know that traditional natural hygiene has talked about food combinations and not eating one food with another, but it's not something that should be followed except in rare instances by some people with very unusual digestive disturbances.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying right now is that it's actually better to mix a variety of foods at meals as opposed to try to eat foods alone, because one food helps the absorption of the other food. In other words, eat a little fat, like avocado with nuts with the vegetables, it absorb better. You eat fruit with a vegetable-based meal, it dilutes the glycemic effect of the fruit, so there's not as much you concentration that has aid there. In other words, there's a lot of reasons why when you eat for one food with another, you increase the protein bioavailability. There's less the body can better. So there's a whole bunch of reasons why it's better to have a variety of foods, and even a variety of foods in the same meal. Except when you have so much variety, it induces overeating. Some people just, it induces overeating when you eat too much variety. But generally speaking, it's better to have the meals be complete and not worry about food combinations like that. So mixing does not cause a problem. You don't see putrefaction of fruit when you hold it in the digestive tract longer. You don't see inhibition of starch digestion with the protein from plant proteins. So it's really a myth.
Yes. And so people who are joining us for the first time, you mentioned Nutritarian, and we all know you and love you for the Nutritarian lifestyle that we've adopted. Share a little bit about the Nutritarian lifestyle and what to look for beyond the G-bombs, which is greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, seeds.
Well, the Nutritarian program is just trying to focus on every issue that could accelerate aging and create disease, and trying not to leave any particular aspect unaddressed. So we check off every box to make sure we're not doing anything wrong that could create disease or accelerate aging. And that includes overeating, eating late at night. You shouldn't be going to bed on one of the most important things is going to bed on an empty stomach. To actively curtail the desire to eat food again at bedtime. Finish eating at least 3 hours, preferably 4 hours before bedtime. And then as you really want to eat again, try not to do it. And occasionally you can do it, but I mean, we're not going to be perfect, but that's an important aspect as well. I mean, an important aspect of the Nutritarian program is being slim. There's no such thing as overweight healthy people. You can't be overweight and healthy at the same time. And people like to say, "Oh, I'm in perfect health except for my breast cancer," or "I'm in perfect health except there's no such." In other words, if you were really healthy, you wouldn't have gotten breast cancer. Unfortunately, that's not a politically favorable thing to say. I apologize for being politically incorrect, but people don't like to hear that the fact that they had that there was any responsibility or anything they did wrong to make them to be sick. And in many cases, it could be what your parents ate themselves that could contribute to childhood cancer, for example.
Yeah.
But we still got to recognize that we are what we eat, and that we are ultimately responsible for our own health and health destiny. So when you put a Nutritarian diet is obviously, it's obviously eating foods that are rich in nutrients, not eating empty calorie foods, not eating foods with harmful ingredients, not eating foods that are hormonally favorable, not eating foods that are toxic or have unfavorable bacteria or parasites in them, and that have naturally occurring toxins in them, mercury, plastic particles, glyphosate. So we're looking at having the right body weight, not getting fat off the body, but not being too thin, not being anorexic either, doing all the right things that are going to extend our lifespan. getting enough rest and sleep, getting the right amount of exercise, not too much and not too little, but getting the right amount of exercise. You can be over-exercise. You can be a triathlete or a marathon runner. You can push exercise too far that may not even be better for your health. So it's trying to look at all the aspects. And of course, taking the right supplements for the diet you're on. Because if you're on a diet that's the standard American diet, you're not having adequate nutrients, and we got to change that diet. But if you're but as you move towards a plant-based or vegan diet, because I don't know what the word plant-based means anyway. Does it mean vegan? Does it mean 90% plants? I mean, I don't know what it means. But we're talking here as you move from a diet that's almost exclusively plant-based, vegan, or totally vegan, then there's certain nutrients you're not getting that you would have more profusion and more opportunity to have optimal amounts if you ate those animal products. And in a Nutritarian program, we want to make sure that we're not missing anything that might be optimized. And those nutrients that we can optimize are things like B12, DHA, K2, iodine, and zinc. And particularly zinc and DHA and B12 are major factors here, because as we age, we absorb zinc less efficiently, and zinc is marginally might have enough zinc on plant foods, but we only absorb about 20% of the zinc from plant foods. So we really want to make sure, especially as we get older, that we increase, because zinc's been shown to reduce risk of prostate cancer, to reduce risk of pneumonia with aging. It's with the failing immune system with aging that we want to make sure we're not increasing ourselves infection with zinc deficiency. I'm just giving that as an example.
Yes.
That because we're saying a Nutritarian dietary portfolio is actually very conservative, not to take too much of a nutrient, not to take too little, to be in that sweet spot. We're talking about vitamin D now, not to be deficient and not to have excess. There's so many people taking too much vitamin D from all this internet stuff about more is better. And so many people take too many supplements and take harmful supplements like folic acid and beta carotene and vitamin E are harmful. And vitamin A is very harmful to take. So there's a lot of knowledge that I spend my life being devoted to try to give people advice that's optimizing their opportunity to live a long life, because we have an unprecedented opportunity in human history right now with so many advances in nutritional science. If we look at the whole picture, to get in that sweet spot so people can maximize their health and longevity. And when we do that, we're going to fix a lot of things along the way. The best diet for longevity is the best diet to relieve disease and to relieve pain. It's not, you know what I mean? So it's really, it all works together.
Yes, yes. And so for those of you, this is a book, Dr. Fuhrman. It's a special edition book that Dr. Fuhrman and I discussed, I don't know how long ago, but we're going to give this to the 13th. I'm going to say the lucky number 13th. Let's see. Yes. The 100 Best Foods for Your Health and Longevity. This is a book that the 13th instant message. So if you instant message me during the live broadcast, the 13th person will win a free copy of this book. So let's talk about, and let's dive into, because there's so many things that you said that I would love to ask, but because I want to stick with, not just a formula, but maybe a fruit or vegetable or a combination will resonate with people. And so let's talk about, the G-bombs, for example. G-bombs will, if we talk about G-bombs, will they help with reducing inflammation? Greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, seed. Because when I do research on how to reduce inflammation, I get all sorts of suggestions, and I wanted to see if it's real or not real. So,
and all sorts of nonsense too.
There is a lot of nonsense. That's why we're talking.
One thing we know here is that, look at any study that looks at a population long term. And when you're looking at these healthy plants, and we can divide them into categories, beans are a category, nuts and seeds are a category, green vegetables are a category, red and orange vegetables are a category, fruit is a category, berries, mushrooms are a category. If we look at all these categories, we find that when a population excludes a category, they don't live as long. And the more category, if the population takes the beans out, not live as long. They take the nuts out, they don't live as long. They take the fruit out, they don't live as long. They take the mushrooms out, they don't live as long. The point I'm making right now is that, we have long-term studies that look at populations over decades showing how long they live. Like there are studies now showing people like on these ketogenic diets. They're trying to do more vegetable-based ketogenic diets by removing fruit, and they still show they don't live as long. Just removing of the fruit shortens lifespan. What we're saying right now is that the variety of nutrients enables us to have beneficial effects on our health, the variety of foods we can eat. And even in the blue zones around the world, where we recognize them for enhanced longevity, they don't live that long as we think. They're only living about 7 years longer than most Americans. And we only have 1 in 10,000 people live to be 100 years old. The blue zones maybe have 6 in 10,000. It's not like most people's living to be 100 years old there. In other words, their variety of food options is relatively low because what's in the area, what they can grow. They may be eating fish and sweet potato, or they're eating, tomato. They're eating some good things, but they don't have the opportunity we can have in this country, in the United States. We can have the access to have wild blueberries and microgreens and sprouts and baby arugula, and we can, and different types of mushrooms, and we can get oyster and matak. We have so much options to have nutritional variety that they could never achieve in the blue zones. We have so much of an opportunity to live, higher opportunity to live to be 100 years old in great health in our population, in our country today, than you could if you lived in Sardinia or Okinawa or any of these blue zone areas. Yeah. So they're not even approaching what we could achieve, but with these advances in nutritional science. The blue zones, we're not trying to emulate or copy a blue zone. We're surpassing that by the zillions, and that's the same things that give us the ability to fight off pain. So we're talking here about being optimally nourished, so there's no inflammation in our body, so we can eat food, and also, of course, have good circulation and good alignment. We're talking about, you have pronated feet, scoliosis in your back, hunched so we want to have good alignment of our bodies, muscles, so we're not wearing and tearing things, uneven. We want to have our tissues and our muscles and our not be hardened and contracted, interfering with blood flow and nutrient delivery to our tissues. Okay. We sometimes have to combine body work with good nutrition, because what good is great nutrition if you're not getting the blood flow into the areas that need it to heal? What's interesting that we found, I've noticed, and that seen with a therapist friend of mine noticed too, is that some of the people that are highly contracted in their tissues and they're getting a lot of pain due to neuromuscular inflammation, when we start to relax the tissues with compression type treatments, but pushing out the lactic acid, allowing the muscles that were hardened and had trigger points and tight corded muscles causing nerve pain, we allow those to soften and keep compressing them over time. And we see the nutrient levels in the body go down as these tissues that were irritated and inflamed and didn't have good circulation start to be sucking up nutrients and utilizing them, because then they start to come back up again as the pain's going away. But initially we have a dip in the nutrient levels circulating and measurable in the body. It seems as these tissues that are now opened up to blood flow start taking up nutrients for healing. So it's kind of interesting that we're seeing certain things you wouldn't seem to expect. You would think that the nutrient levels will be going up, but they actually go down as we're putting the more nutrients in the body. We're giving the person these green juices. We're giving them all to try to get the body to be back. And so what I'm saying right now is that I see so many patients with fibromyalgia that could not get well. But that when you combine the juicing, the high nutrient eating, and the body work, you're able to get the pain out of the body, the tissues start to soften, the pains go away, and the people leave here, with no pain anymore.
That's wonderful. And here is the Eat to Live Retreat Center in California, San Diego, California. Dr. Fuhrman is there today. Woke up really early to be a part of the classroom today. I have some questions, Dr. Fuhrman. I don't want to get too far behind.
Sure.
So the question, and if you can write the person who says it, Robert, that would be great. What are your thoughts about juicing organic celery? You know that celery juicing is now the latest craze. They wanted to know juicing organic celery on an empty stomach. What's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are, because I'm talking here about the fact that we need a wide variety of nutrients. And you shouldn't be juicing just one food like that. That doesn't make any sense. In other words, there's never one magical ingredient that's going to solve your problems. It's getting a wide spectrum of beneficial nutrients. The juices we use here mostly are 1/3 lettuce, celery, cucumber. That's 1/3. You can put celery, but it's not going to be a celery juice because we want to have a wide spectrum of nutrients. The reason why we're using juicing and not food is because with the food, people have to eat too much food and they won't get enough nutrients in. They wind up overeating. Their stomach won't occupy. They won't get as many vegetables in as they can with juicing because they'd be too full to eat all those vegetables. So we give them 1/3 lettuce and celery, 1/3 carrot and beet, and 1/3 cruciferous from bok choy and cabbage and kale and arugula. And by getting that spectrum of the beet, carrot, or beet, carrots, and the and the lettuce and celery and the cruciferous from the bok choy, which gives more juice than Mother Cruciferous does, and the arugula, then we're really going to have a healing juice to maximize the broad spectrum of nutrients in the body.
Now, do you add anything to sweeten it up, like an apple or
I don't really want to give too much sugar in the juice, and the carrot and the beet sweeten it up.
Okay,
that's you know what I do to make it taste better? I put lemon in it.
Oh.
Lemon makes it taste a lot better.
Yes.
Because I don't know, even though it's not sweetening it, it just brings out, it makes it so it has a smoother taste,
Nice. Okay. So
I want them to eat their fruit, not drink their fruit, but the vegetables they can drink more. And so that's why the carrot is only 1/3. It's not a whole glass of carrot juice either. Carrot juice is good, but there's too much sugar in a whole glass. So it's better to mix it and put the mixed juices in. And people can make enough. They can make 16 ounces of it and have 8 ounces one day and 8 ounces the next day. But for people recovering from Crohn's and psoriasis and headaches and fibromyalgia, I'm giving them 2 glasses of juice a day. One in the morning and 1 at night, because at least for the first few months to get the levels of nutrients up in their tissues.
Hey, that's awesome. Okay, so how much D is too much or too little?
Well, if you look at a blood test, the bright blood test is the 25-hydroxy, not the 125-hydroxy, the 25-hydroxy blood test. And it says in the lab like 30 to 60 is the optimal range. But I think like 25 to 45 is the optimal range. I think if you're approaching 60, you're starting to get too much vitamin D. We don't want people to be deficient, but we don't want people to take too much. So if you're a little bit below 30, don't panic. If you're 28, 29, 30, that's okay. If you're already taking 2,000, most people need like 1,000 or 2,000. So for example, if you're taking 2,000 a day and your blood test comes back a little low, don't take more. That's probably enough. It's rare that a person needs more than that. But if you're still really low on 2,000, like below 20, like 23 or below or 20 or below, then you got to take some more. But don't take, a lot of people are taking 5,000 and more and trying to push their levels up to 50 to 80. And that's way too high.
Do you think that there are people
rare that a person will need more than 3,000? Incredible.
Yeah, but what about the absorption? I mean, there are certain times where our body doesn't absorb. Like we're taking 5,000, but we're not absorbing 5,000.
Well, when you take it with fat, that's right. When you take, it's a fat-soluble nutrient. You take it with a meal that has some nuts and seeds in it. Maybe people are taking it on an empty stomach and they're not absorbing it. It reminds me of this study done on Caucasian surfers in Florida. No, I'm sorry. They were in Hawaii.
Okay.
Caucasian surfers in Hawaii were out in the sun for a couple hours every day. And then they came off and they tested them for vitamin D, and they found that about half of them were still vitamin D deficient. And they said, well, how is that possible? They're in the sun. They're not, and we related it to the fact that we go off the water and they go into the shower and use soap on their skin. Because as you use soap on the skin, it washes the oils away. And it takes hours for the vitamin D from the sun to penetrate the skin. So it's very important when you're outside not to go and shower and wash with soap. Stay dirty for a while to allow the vitamin D to get in there. And that's why I shower only once a month, whether I need it or not.
I was going to talk to you about that, Dr. Fuhrman. Here we go. Okay, so the next question is...
But now, hold on. Now I'm looking for a scientific reason why I can convince my wife it's okay to leave the toilet seat up.
I don't know. I don't know if you'll be successful on that one, but you will. You can try. You can try. Okay. So the next question is: will supplements like grapeseed extract and black seed oil fight disease?
Well, I mean, those things are useful for a person who are not eating a good phytochemical exposure to get a little bit of extra, But again, it's the variety of phytochemicals in your diet that matters, and by adding a few more in the food isn't going to make much of a difference once you've idealized your diet. But if a person whose diet is poor, then taking some powdered vegetables, berries, and extracts could be more helpful. I do recommend people take mushroom extracts. And the reason is because most of us only eat only one or maybe two varieties of mushrooms all the time. And by taking some mushroom extracts, we can take some dehydrated mushrooms of 10 or 12 different varieties that give us more exposure to the wide spectrum of nutrients available in the nature's kingdom. So I'm not going to take fruit extracts because I have a huge variety of fruit in my diet already. You know what I mean? I have a huge variety of vegetables in my diet already. I'm trying to see where my diet is lacking a little bit so I can increase that variety in that area. You know what I mean?
Well, can't we just take the seed? I mean, part of the Nutritarian lifestyle is including seeds. So if we add the seed, not necessarily the oil, we get the whole food as opposed to just the oil. Would that work as well?
Well, absolutely. I'm always saying to people that eating seeds are even better than nuts. They have more minerals than nuts. They have more lignins like seeds like sesame seeds and flax seeds and chia seeds and hemp seeds all have qualities that are over and above what you get from nuts usually. So and I want people to consume at least a third to a half of their nut or seed intake from those nuts and seeds that have a high omega-3 content, like hemp seed, flax, or chia, or walnuts. You know what I do in my recipes nowadays? Let's say the recipe calls for cashews, like my California. Like making dehydrated chips in the dehydrated green chips, like broccoli leaves, kohlrabi leaves, collard leaves, kale leaves. Well, I'll put a sauce made of apple cider vinegar and cashew nuts and nutritional yeast and soy milk blended together on to make this like sauce for them, dehydrated, make an incredible kale chip. I modify that recipe to take out half the cashews and substitute half hemp seeds instead. If I'm making my California cream kale with the cashew nuts, I take out half the cashews and put in half hemp seeds instead. I'm trying to mix the omega-3 and the omega-6, so you're not overdoing the omega-6 nuts in relation to the omega-3 nuts. What I'm saying right now is that any recipe that calls for cashews or pistachios or pecans, you don't change the flavor much by putting hemp seeds into the other half of the recipe, because hemp seeds are so mildly tasting and they suck up the flavor of the other nut. It's almost like putting tofu in, which sucks up the flavor of it has a very mild flavor anyway. Yeah. So the hemp seeds have a very mild flavor. So it gives you a better omega-3, omega-6 profile. And I'm not concerned about people taking in too much omega-6 fat, because when your body is thin, you burn those extra omega-6 calories for energy. You're not storing them as fat on the body. The body will maintain and store the omega-3 and make the omega-3 it needs and the ALA, we need certain ALA, and the body tries to make EPA and DHA at that. And even when we're taking a vegan or algae-based DHA or to keep our omega-3 adequate, the omega-6 is not going to damage that balance because your body's going to burn off the omega-6.
What is the equivalent of omega-6? What foods have omega-6, Dr. Fuhrman?
All the nuts, pistachio, pecans, almonds, cashews, Brazil nuts are mostly omega-6. It's only walnuts and seeds like flax, chia, and hemp that have omega-3. So we're saying walnuts and flax, chia, and hemp should be a third to a half of your nut intake, and the other half could be the other part of the nut or seed, the other nuts and seeds, including all the other nuts and seeds. Pecans, hickory nuts, because so we're trying to balance the omega-3 nut and seed to be at least third to a half of their total intake. And we do that by just changing the recipes when we're making the salad dressings and stuff.
I think that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Mix it up.
Don't overeat nuts and seeds because we don't want you to increase your body fat. So when we're eating, we don't want to overeat on any food. We want part of being a Nutritarian is not snacking, not eating late at night, and not overeating. Right? So that means you're burning off the calories. And I'm saying the body won't burn off the omega-3, it'll burn off the omega-6. So we have the body will naturally keep the ratio favorable by burning off the extra omega-6 you consume as a source of calories for energy, because you're not overeating calories in general. You know what I mean?
Yes. Okay, so I did a little search because I thought, okay, I'm just going to go Google this. Ways to reduce inflammation in my body, reduce pain. And of course, berries was on the top of the list. Let's talk about berries and how they benefit our body.
Well, if you ate fruits that were grown on the earth 500 years ago and before, we would see fruits looking and tasting completely differently than we're seeing right now. Because it's not GMO, but it's being bred and hybridized to be sweeter and have higher sugar contents and less fiber. Berries, so that's why things like wild blueberries, blackberries are not that sweet, but are full of anthocyanins, and flavonoids. And wild blueberries are all skin because they're so tiny, and they're not that sweet. They haven't yet been hybridized. It's the bigger, sweeter blueberries. We're saying that berries are the skin of the fruit has certain colors that make the skin have that color. And those are the beneficial, most nutritive and anti-inflammatory part of the fruit. Mm-hmm. And as you take a wild berry, blackberries, people know, aren't sweet, but they're tasty, but they're so rich in protective compounds. So these berries are a fruit that's more like fruits that were grown 500 years ago, because they're all skin and they're not been made to be super sweet. If we eat a kiwi, we should take an organic kiwi and wash it well and eat the skin of it, because the skin have the anti-inflammatory effects. Mm. If we eat an orange, get a kumquat or a lemon, peel the skin off it, lemon zest off the skin, or get a kumquat or a mandarin quat or a mayway kumquat where the skin is tasty. And then you're going to have more anti-inflammatory effects, because nature puts all these anti-inflammatory compounds into the skin because they're colorful. You want to juice the orange and throw away the juice and eat the skin. That's how we have the anti-inflammatory effects. Wow. It's eating too much of the sweet part in the center that's not going to have the beneficial. So the reason why berries are so anti-inflammatory is because there's no large center part with all the sweet juice. You're eating a lot of skin in proportion to its center, and you're getting a lot of flavonoids that have been concentrated in anthocyanins that are concentrated in a high concentration in the skin. And those berries have been shown even to reverse dysplasia in the early stages of esophageal cancer, and they have powerful anti-cancer effects.
Wow.
So I'm saying those wild frozen blueberries are a superfood, and they're okay to eat them frozen. You can buy them, because when you buy fresh, they're super expensive, yes, and they go bad in 3 days in your refrigerator, or you open them up and they're moldy when you bought them. So it's okay to buy frozen berries, and frozen wild blueberries and frozen blackberries are the best.
Wild. And
and you can get, that's why I'm enjoying California here. I can grow passion fruit and kumquats and loquats and all kinds of fruits that are not, and mayway and that are not that sweet. I can grow heirloom and primitive fruits and vegetables when you grow them yourself. It's so helpful, or so healthy for people to garden and to grow stuff in their own house. Yes. And you can do that wherever you live. Remember Helen and Scott Nearing? Scott Nearing wrote the book, The Good Life. He was an MIT world-class scholar. He was an MIT professor and scholar, and I don't know if he was a Nobel Prize winner, but one of the, he lived a life where he made a greenhouse in Maine that he built himself. And he lived off the land of the food he grew. And he lived to be 101 years old in great health, living off the fruit he grew in his own greenhouse. Mm-hmm. And he didn't, and I have a greenhouse in New Jersey where I grow tomatoes and I move things in and out. And I have, fruit trees, like fig trees in the winter in the greenhouse. But you can put them in your garage or and wheel them in a safe in your garage in the wintertime out in the, after April to October. But the point I'm making is, we can have some grow boxes on our patio. We can have grow boxes on the roof of an apartment building. We can grow sprouts inside our house on the windowsill. Who shouldn't be growing sprouts? Because obviously baby plants, we can grow. There's so many ways we can do something to improve the nutritional quality of our diet, even if we live in the inner city. You know what I mean? Because a little bit of sprouts in your diet goes a long way. A little bit of frozen berries, which are not that expensive compared to fresh, go a long way, because the frozen berries don't have to even be organic.
Yes, you mentioned that too. That
the Wyman brand, there's no organic residue on there. It's, so we can have organic food with with toxic residue, and non-organic food with non-toxic residue, depending on the food. We're seeing contamination, for example, of organic oatmeal, or contamination of organic rice, which is organic and contaminated. And we're not seeing contamination of non-organic blueberries. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of different, things we have to be aware of.
Very good. Very good. Now, a lot of the standard American diet focuses on animal products. And one of the results of my search said that fatty fish was good for reducing inflammation, such as salmon, sardines, herring, mackerel, and anchovies. Is that true or not?
No, that's ridiculous. The fish doesn't have nothing to produce. It's not the fish, it's the omega-3 fatty acid deficiency that accelerates inflammation. So the person even with all the studies on fish and fish oil and supplementation, show that people whose levels are adequate don't benefit from pushing it up to higher levels. It's the people who are deficient that benefit from taking in some of that food. So I'm recommending people take DHA to prevent deficiencies. Well, once they're sufficient, it's taking extra is not going to cause more anti-inflammatory effects once your levels are normal. However, there's exceptions to that rule. Okay. Because with an autoimmune disease and a very high level of EPA from fish oil could have a pharmacologic effect to immunosuppress. That's not favorable. That's unfavorable to take fish oil to that level to cause immunosuppression because it could have negative effects on longevity or cancer. But with people, it's safer to take that than take a drug like that suppresses inflammation. So we may give people with colitis or rheumatoid arthritis a high dose of fish oil to suppress inflammation, but we're doing it recognizing it may have a mild degree of unfavorable of long-term toxicity, but that degree of unfavorable long-term toxicity from the overuse of fish oil is not going to be as risky as taking drugs. Yeah. It's much better to take a high dose of fish oil than to have to be taking immunosuppressive drugs. So a high dose of fish oil, we're not taking a nutritive dose, we're taking a pharmacologic dose, a huge dose, to get immunosuppression from the high dose of EPA. So it's like a natural medicine, so to speak. You follow me?
Yes,
we have to differentiate between using natural remedies for their pharmacologic effects compared to using food or for their nutritive effects. We want to live in a manner to avoid the need to need pharmacologic substances, natural or not. So I don't want to give you herbs to take away your headaches and give you willow bark and to give you green coffee bean extract. I don't want to have to do that if I don't have to. I'd rather give you nothing. It's healthier not to take that stuff. But if you need it, it's probably better than taking medications would have been anyway. Yeah. So it's a matter of weighing which is a better, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What about, so we had a question about salt, but let's talk about salt and sugar as causing inflammation in the body.
That's right. Salt's linked to not just high blood pressure, but autoimmune disease as well. Mm-hmm. And salt causes inflammation in the endothelium, leading to microvascular hemorrhaging, which over the years of eating salt can weaken the inner lining of your blood vessels, making you higher risk of having a hemorrhagic stroke. What I'm saying right now, that the link between salt and hemorrhage is not merely because of salt causing high blood pressure, putting pressure on the wall, the blood vessel split. It's also because it weakens the blood vessel wall over the years of doing it. So salt does enhance inflammation. It does weaken the wall of the blood vessels. It does cause blood pressure to rise, increasing a person's risk of both heart attack and stroke. Mm-hmm. And the ideal, we seeing that the average amount of people consuming about 3,000 milligrams of sodium a day, we see dramatic saving of lifespan when people cut back to 1,500. And we see maximally protection of lifespan when people cut back to under 1,000 milligrams of sodium a day. And we shouldn't, and the American Heart Association recommends people cut back when they develop heart disease, but that's crazy. We don't want to cut back after we develop the disease. We want to eat the right amount before we develop a disease.
Yes.
So much damage occurs when you do that. So I'm suggesting that people should not be consuming more than 1,000 milligrams a day of sodium as an upper limit. And the diet alone, natural foods give you probably 500 to 700.
Yes.
That means you probably couldn't, I rarely have something with any additional sodium. I just take what's in the natural food. I probably don't even go over much 500 to 700 a day in my diet. Sometimes I'll have some, commercial tomato sauce that has a little bit, or I'll have maybe an Ezekiel bread that had 150 milligrams of sodium, or had a little bit of low sodium miso, or a little spray of not Bragg's aminos. I don't even use that anymore. It's too high in sodium. I use the coconut aminos, which are much lower, because the Bragg's aminos have 900 milligrams per tablespoon or 300 per teaspoon. And the coconut aminos have 100 per teaspoon or 300 per tablespoon. It's 1/3 the amount, and bags are too strong. You get a little extra flavor. So I'm saying add an extra 100 to your diet for that day or something, but don't add an extra 1,000. You got to have a commercial soup there. So yeah, salt definitely promotes inflammation as well. And when people cut off the salt, they diurese. They don't hold on to as much fluid. And that the extra, and one reason people are overweight is because their body is so toxic and inflamed that the body holds on to fluid to dilute the toxicity concentration of their tissues. And the minute they start eating healthier, the body's going to release all that fluid. Mm-hmm. And all that fluid was causing pressure on the nerves and the joints, causing pain.
Yes. Okay, that's great. Okay, so
like what's it called? Carpal tunnel syndrome.
Yes.
The carpal tunnel syndrome. You're getting pressure on nerves because you're getting swelling of the carpal tunnel, which doesn't expand in the wrist as you get to a point I'm making right now. People start to diurese. when they start to eat healthier and the body gets rid of the extra fluid, their carpal tunnel pain goes away because there's more room for the nerves to travel their impulses when you're not being squeezed by so much congestion and extra fluid from the toxicity, which makes the body hold on to more fluid.
Yeah. Okay. And what about sugar?
Well, sugar is just like cocaine. That's like snort with cocaine in if you're going to have sugar. It's just, it's like, that's insanity, So
we have it in everything.
What I'm saying is sugar is worse than eating, sugar is worse than butter. Sugar is worse than eating meat, So we're talking about honey, maple syrup, and marshmallows in the same category. Honey, maple syrup, and marshmallows. So we want to get only our sweets from eating fresh and dried fruits in moderation, mostly fresh fruit. But in any case, when people get off the sugar, off the artificial sweeteners, off the low-calorie sweeteners, off the stevia, off the agave, off all these, their taste for sweets gets stronger anyway. Mm-hmm. But that's right. Sugar throws your immune system in a disarray. And sure, it's going to causes intravascular inflammation and oxidation to occur of the LDL molecule. And of course, it's suppressive on your white blood cell count. Its effects on the white blood cell count activity and the ability of your body to fight disease and remove toxins and remove bacteria and viral antigens as well. So sugar just is suppressive of your overall immunity and health. And it's crazy to be sweetening and eating white flour is sugar. Yeah. There's no difference between having white bread and pizza and bagels and croissants and sucking on a sugar cube. It's all the same thing.
It all converts. I want to remind all of you who are watching on Lillian's radio show, Facebook, on facebook.com, to send me instant message. Here we go. We get to watch this.
I'm going to get my dog who's just, he's being tortured, not being with me.
Go get him. Okay.
I'm going to hold him on my lap for the rest of the.
Okay. So for those of you who would like a copy of the 100 Best Foods for Health and Longevity, which has 25 mouth-watering recipes as well, be the 13th person to instant message me at Lillian's radio show on Facebook. So make sure that you do that. While we're at it, because this information is so important that we share it with your friends, like us, follow us, go to whenyouneedafriend.com. Please become a subscriber. And because of the sponsors that we have, there's little Petey, because of all the need that there's we need financial support. We have our sponsors. So I ask you that while you're there, check out the sponsors and support them the way they're supporting the show. Liberty Health Share, Keep Me Safe Organics, First Alternative Care, Dr. Stephen Grable, The Pharmacy, and Live Longer Medical. Go to whenyouneedafriend.com, become a subscriber. Also subscribe in the YouTube channel. That way, this information is sent to you when you subscribe, plus you get free gifts. And so make sure that in the process you share, you like, you learn, we grow together. There's lots of giveaways, so check it all out. And of course, social media, like and share us there. Dr. Joel Fuhrman, and if you would like to become an enrolled student in the classroom, click on that and learn different ways you can do that. Did you guys see that beautiful view? Dr. Fuhrman is at the retreat center, at the Eat to Live retreat center in California. I'm planning on going there soon. I'm so excited.
You'll have to visit me out here. Yeah, it's great out here.
We're going to go. Robert and I are going to visit you pretty soon, and I'm looking forward to that. Now, Dr. Fuhrman, I don't know if you have any extra time afterwards too, because we have the podcast that we stop the show, but we can continue if you have some minutes afterwards to ask some extra questions.
Sure, no problem.
Get a tour of the facility. For those of you who want to go get healthy in a way that is sustainable. That's the word, is sustainable. There's a lot of diets out there that are fads that you can only do it for a short period of time, and then it drains you. The things that you had that were strong, then it drains you from that because now you're depleted from all the nutrients. Having a balanced Nutritarian diet will do. So this is a wonderful place. The Eat to Live resort, not resort, but
it's like a resort.
It is like a resort. Look at that. Look at that view.
I have a disc golf course, a sand volleyball court, a giant saltwater pool that's 50 feet. You know, we have like hiking trails, and we're right on this wonderful, incredible park. You could see right behind us of hiking trails and biking trails, and there's horseback riding. It's like you come here, it's like you're in a resort, but it's like
you just light up, Dr.
I have like the incredible chefs and great food. It's just really great for people to come in and get their health back.
And when you go to drfuhrman.com, or you can go to whenyouneedafriend.com to learn more about Dr. Fuhrman and different ways that you can get a hold of him. Dr. Fuhrman, it is so wonderful that you are part of a great teacher on the show and in the classroom. So thank you so much today. So hang on, you guys, after we say goodbye, that we are going to talk a little bit more, answer some more of your questions. Please remember, I'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott and Dr. Joel Fuhrman wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
Okay, Dr. Fuhrman, how much time do you have before you get to start your day?
It's okay. 10 minutes?
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
So let me see some other questions that I may not have asked. Glutathione. How to improve glutathione?
You eat vegetables. Your body makes it as much as it needs when you eat green vegetables. That's why when we fast people, yes, we don't want people to be fasting. Sometimes we're fasting people when they have an autoimmune condition or some like asthma. And if we fast them too long, your body loses its nutritional reserve and loses the glutathione. You don't detoxify as much. Mm-hmm. That's why it's better to fast for 4 to 6 days and eat again and fast again if you need to a month later when you replenish your nutrient stores, as opposed to fasting 20 days straight. We're looking to help people recover from an illness. Mm-hmm. So it's better to stay and just fast a little bit and then eat for a while and fast. So because you replenish the glutathione when you start eating a high vegetable diet. And this is a high vegetable diet. This is a high green vegetable diet. It's the best way to keep your glutathione levels well. And all the organosulfide compounds, people taking MSM and taking pills, but get all that stuff from green cruciferous vegetables, in large amounts.
Yes. Okay. So you had mentioned carotenoids and the importance of having high levels of that. Can you share where you get the carotenoids?
Carotene, beta-carotene.
Yes. But can you get it? Go ahead.
Lutein, lycopene. Lycopene is what makes the red vegetables red, and comes in peppers and tomatoes. And lutein makes the carotenoid has the green color. It's in green vegetables. Carotene is orange in orange vegetables like carrots and sweet potato. A blood level for lutein is a good surrogate marker for how much green vegetables a person is eating. If their lutein level is low, they're not eating a lot of green vegetables. If the lutein level is high, they're eating a lot of green vegetables. Us Nutritarians have a slight orange tinge to our skin tone because we're eating so much vegetables and we're getting a lot of those carotenoids that penetrate the skin and prevent skin cancer. And we're particularly eating a lot of green vegetables. You need a lot of green vegetables. It's not just the carrots that give your skin the orange color. It's the green vegetable consumption that also colors your skin. We need those colorful carotenoids in our tissues, and they represent the protection against cancer that our tissues have. What I'm saying is these phytochemicals lodge in our body's tissues and stay there and offer permanent protection. They're not just floating in and out of our body, they're staying in our tissues. Our skin is permanently tinted from the high carotenoid diet. It's colored with these carotenoids live within us. Yes. And so lutein is not the reason we're protected against heart disease from the green vegetables, but it's all the other nutrients in green vegetables too. But by having a high level of lutein, which is a carotenoid, it means that we also have a high level of those other nutrients that come along with lutein for the ride that are in green vegetables. Mm-hmm. So the high carotenoid levels are demonstrative of overall your diet and having a high of quality and of nutritional excellence and diversity.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Now, remember, I told you that I just wanted to do a Dr. Google search, and I wrote best way to reduce inflammation in the body. And one of the things that came up there, I thought, I'm just going to throw it at Dr. Fuhrman and just watch him explode. It was extra virgin oil. It talked about how that is the healthiest fat we can eat. Would you like to take over, Dr. Fuhrman?
I don't know. I mean, a nutritarian diet a nutritarian diet means that we eat a diet with a high micronutrient per calorie density, more micronutrient bang per caloric buck. That's what this is all about. That the more you eat foods that are high in calories with low nutrient levels, the more you age, the more fat you have in the body, and the shorten your lifespan. What I'm saying right now is that extra virgin olive oil causes breast cancer. Get all that oil into you, pour it in, and you're going to increase risk of cancer. And why am I saying that? Because the body turns it into body fat. It turns the oil into body fat. How can you put 400 calories of a high calorie, low nutrient, no fiber food? Fiber regulates the appetite. Oil makes you want to eat more calories. Mm-hmm. People who eat oil, look at their body. They're all fat. And that fat is increasing the risk of cancer. We want to be slim. Pull up those shirt, pinch them in the belly, and see how much fat's there. And then say, okay, here's where the oil's going. You can't have health when you're having a roll of fat around your midsection. That fat produces cytokines and lipokines. Let me say that one more time. That fat cells produce inflammatory compounds. And the reason people are inflamed and have pain is because the fat releases pro-inflammatory compounds. They want to get rid of their inflammation. They got to get rid of the body fat, not put oil in the body, which does the opposite. The oil stops the weight loss. You can't lose weight while you're pouring fat in to the body, that large amounts of fat, so it's just, when you take a nut or a seed, the fat comes in very slowly and the body burns it for energy. It doesn't store it as fat. When you take 300 calories of oil into your meal, and don't forget, every tablespoon of oil is 120 calories. Mm-hmm. Look at all these recipes and all these health books. They have like 4 tablespoons of oil in a simple recipe that serves 2 people. That's 200, 300 calories of oil right up boom, right off the bat. And so that person's not losing weight that week. You can't be taking in those extra oil calories and losing weight, and the fat's going to remain on their body. That means the oil's contributing to their breast cancer.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the passion that you bring to nutrition, Dr. Fuhrman. And I giggle sometimes because you say it as it is. And sometimes it's, people are politically correct and wanting to not hurt people. And I know you don't want to hurt people. What you want is to wake people up to this truth that we've been lied to about food. And, we hear, even in Europe, they don't consume as much oil as we consume here.
The right thing is bad information abounds everywhere. Everybody's giving wrong, bad, twisted information. And it's hard to be the naysayer and to say everybody's wrong. But, But obviously, most of the information you get out there is wrong.
It is. Okay, so let's talk about turmeric or turmeric, depending on how people say it. But many people say that it is an important spice that helps promote healing in the body.
Well, I think that's true, but then again, so many other plant materials do as well.
Okay.
And of course, I'm supporting that and agreeing with it. Yeah. But I also think a variety of herbs and spices in food is really good too. So it's not the only. There's other beneficial compounds, and I think that I even think that that real vanilla bean extract is really good for people too. And it's to put it to make, and you make great things with it. I mean, I made this delicious hemp seed milk with hemp water, a little almonds, and some real vanilla bean powder and 1 medjool date. Is just fantastically great for not drink, but I'm using it on my quinoa with flax seeds and chia seeds and berries in there with a little plant milk on top. Making your own fresh plant milk that's not pasteurized. Mm-hmm. By putting your own. So what I'm saying, you could put a little turmeric in. Last night we had cheese, like a fresh cheese made with some hemp seeds and cashews that we put a little, what did we put into it to thicken it? Not agar, but we put some, what was it called? I think arrowroot in to thicken it. And then I dehydrated it. We actually froze it. So it would be cut it into chunks, like little cheese chunks, and then from the freezer, put into the dehydrator. So while it was still shaped like a square, to dehydrate it to make it hard. And then I cut it like it was a piece of cheese. And it was just having fun in the kitchen, inventing things, inventing recipes that are interesting. You know what I mean? But the point I'm making now, I added turmeric to it to give it that little orange color so it looked like cheese. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Turmeric's really good.
Well, I tell you what, let's talk about the Eat to Live Retreat Center. And for those of you who call, let them know that you saw them on the Lillian McDermott radio show Classroom, because it's always good to hear that all of you who are watching and listening are excited with the enthusiasm that Dr. Fuhrman just brings on in any place where he's at. But it's always nice for him to come on here and know that people are listening and people are wanting to do more for their health. Let's talk about the Eat to Live Retreat Center. We're looking at the view from your first location in San Diego, California.
Right. I have two homes across the street from each other. This is, I'm building the bigger one. Yeah, this is just, as you can see, I'm so, lucky to find this neighborhood that was undeveloped, that I can buy this properties and build this retreat center here. Just fantastic. It's just gorgeous.
You've always wanted, ever since you and I started working together, that was your goal. And every time you talk about healing people, you first started in your basement of your home, and now you are at this beautiful location.
Yeah, I used to have people living in my home. I used to have people living all over my house. I had people in the basement. I was telling you earlier that my daughters, when they were like 2 and 3 years old, used to be lying in the bed with my patients who were in the house. You know what I mean? Because to get people well, it took that. You have to take over their life and make sure they're eating the juicing and doing all the right foods and staying with it for a while. I was doing this my whole career, but I used to do it. And I had a rental house in Flemington, New Jersey. I had a seven bedroom house in Flemington. It was an old house that was really probably built in the 1700s. I'm thinking that had we used to go in the attic and in the garages and find things from the Civil War. It was
wow.
So we had this old house in Flemington. And I remember, so I used to have people in little tiny rooms and all over the place in that house. But so, and people, I can tell all these stories of people who lost weight, and then we take away their car keys and their credit cards and their wallets, so they couldn't, because when I had the house in Flemington, they could walk out to a luncheonette or to a candy store. And so we had to take away all their car keys and make sure that then they couldn't get out and eat anything unhealthy. But, now I've graduated to have this place in San Diego that I have nice weather all year round, a beautiful saltwater pool, and walking on the sand, and we have the beach down there. We drive into the beach, and so now it's a much more beautiful setting. But it's the same thing I've been doing my whole life. It's just I'm doing it with great personal chefs, and I have food addiction counselors and psychotherapists and body workers here, and yoga instructors and water aerobics. I have a lot of things. Back in Flemington, didn't have a sand volleyball court and water aerobics. I had just walking around the block. You know what I mean?
Hey, listen, whatever works. Even
right.
If you don't have the place where you can go out, rebounding is really good. Just get a tiny little trampoline and just that gets your lymphatic system going. Now, you talked about during the broadcast, Dr. Fuhrman, and I know we're going a little bit over here, but you talked about compression, and you're talking about the toxins being released. We're really mentioning the lymphatic system. And so what are some different ways that we can alleviate or release the toxins from our lymphatic system, our trash collectors?
Well, what I'm saying is that the muscles go into spasm and they contract, and it interferes with the blood flow of blood and lymph, and you build up more lactic acid and toxins in those tissues, and it lets the nerves become more hypoxic and get inflamed. I'm not saying that the lymphatic system is different. That's assuming that's the same thing as muscular contraction.
Okay.
That's the lymphatic system circulate, the lymph nodes filter the blood, circulate lymph, remove antigens, and so that's from your overall quality of your diet. And so your immune system isn't going to function well. But so everything works how should you say, everything's intertwined to a degree.
Yeah.
So
our bodies are perfect, and it wants to heal.
The muscle, the nerves, the blood flow, so it's all intertwined. The right nutrition and plus we want the blood and the lymph to flow, because if I have a contracted muscle, hard muscles in my, I'm not going to get good flow of lymph and blood and nerve flow, and everything's going to come together. You know what I mean? So it's not one. So when you fix everything, it's going to fix everything everything's going to be fixed. The lymph's going to be fixed. The blood's going to be fixed. The spasm's going to be fixed. The nerves going to be fixed. We're all going to fix everything together, not isolating them. So what I'm saying is that it's an advantage to be able to, like, give people some body work every day or 5 days a week as opposed to once a week, because you soften the tissue, it recontracts again. So the advantage sometimes is to give people the body work instead of rubbing and irritating tissue so it's sore the next day. If we pump the tissue, including the muscle and lymph, it allows the lymph and the blood to flow in and out, and you don't irritate the tissue, by putting compression on it instead of rubbing it, which the next day it's sore and then you can't treat it again. And sometimes it takes treating it repetitively to make the tissues naturally desire to want to tighten up again to realize not to do that anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
And you combine that with the excellent nutrition, and then it works better. The headache, the autoimmune conditions get better faster. And you know what helps too? The super soil. It's funny because one of my guests called it this week. She said, "You're Batman soil." Away from Batman soil.
Tell us about your Batman soil, Dr.
Right.
Fuhrman.
I guess that was a good name because it has bat guano in it. It's got earthworm castings. It's got it's got wild jungle compost and peat. It's got volcanic mineral rock crushed in there. It's got no commercial. So I'm like divine. So what I'm saying right now is the best food comes from the best soil. And so non-contaminated soil and all these things make a little difference. Having a little bit of nuts and seeds to facilitate absorption makes a little difference. But when you put all these little differences together, you enable people to break through that hump and to really heal better.
I love it. I love it.
And to detoxify and to get rid of their addiction, their brain functions better. It's amazing how excellence leads to better results.
I love the word excellence. I used to look for perfection a long time ago, and perfection is not achievable, but excellence is. And I really love the focus on, and there's little, did Petey leave your side, Dr. Fuhrman?
Oh, you know what it is? People just came into the house. He's looking, so he has to.
Oh, he's protecting you. What kind of dog is Petey?
He's a multiple. So that's the nurse came in, and I think a yoga person might have just walked. Or I think an exercise trainer. Let me get Petey again.
Go ahead. I want to address. Come here, Petey. Come here, Petey.
Come here, Petey.
I want to address the importance of. You talked about yoga. Okay, I don't know. Can you hear me still, Dr. Fuhrman?
Petey went inside to greet everybody. He had to be there.
Okay. So I had Ellen Jacobs, who is a cancer coach. She's fabulous. And she had optimal nutrition. She worked out. She balanced life. And I said, you can't get cancer in an alkaline body. You can't get cancer in a healthy body. And she said, absolutely you can. And she said, let me tell you why. She said she had horrible thoughts. And she was a perfectionist. So she was, all these things that caused her stress in the body. Those are other things. And so I love the fact that you have addiction counselor, you have counselors there, you have yoga, you have exercises. It's not just about food. And we need to realize that toxicity can come through our thoughts as well. Would you like to say anything about that, Dr. Fuhrman?
Well, I'd like to say this, that when people are food addicts and they come here, they're angry and they're irritable. And they're annoyed. And we watch a transformation occur in their minds. That's unbelievable. These irritable, angry people become relaxed and their personalities change. What I'm saying is when you're an addict, it changes your personality. It changes your brain function. You're just living to get through your life and to supply your addictive needs. And you can't be the full person you are. And I'm saying all these things are intertwined. And I'm seeing people become more grateful, more peaceful, less irritable, more appreciative of the world around them, of the aesthetic structure of nature. They start to be grateful about the food. They start to say a passion fruit. Wow, look how beautiful this fruit is, or something. And look at this. How they start to be. So it's just incredible watching people transform emotionally. And so, and it all, it's what you're saying is that everything helps. The group classes help. But the food and the health of your brain helps too.
Yes.
So we don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg, but everything's intertwined.
We are this perfect creation, and we are. If we give the body what we need, if we were to, and the only thing I could say is, if we were to put sand in our gas tank, None of us would be surprised if the car doesn't run. But yet we pour the equivalent of sand in our gas tank, and we're shocked when we get sick. So we really need to look at our bodies as this beautiful tool that can be enhanced by the way we think and live our life. So Dr. Fuhrman, I know that your people are waiting for you, and I want to thank all of you who
Petey's
joined.
been waiting for me.
Petey,
Petey's waiting.
I had a Maltese and a Maltipoo, and
Oh, yeah.
I love Petey. Hey, Petey! Everybody say hi to Petey. Look at him. He's such a cute. How old is Petey?
2.
Oh, he's so cute. Reminds me of my little Max. I wish I had Max with me right now. But anyway, for those of you who have joined the broadcast, the class today at Lillian's radio show, I'm very grateful. Make sure you share this, and also like and subscribe to whenyounneedafriend.com. That way, every month, Dr. Fuhrman is on, and we'll answer. If we didn't answer your questions today, I will cut and paste it, and it'll be asked next month. So next month, join us with Dr. Fuhrman, or join us every day in the classroom at whenyounneedafriend.com. You can learn who is going to be on. So share, like, and subscribe. And so, Dr. Fuhrman, is there anything you'd like to share before we go about reducing pain in the body through optimal health?
I just want people to have optimism, hope, and realize that this is not hard to do. They could do this, they can get well, and they could have a really good, happy future, and they should, not be complacent with just taking drugs is the message.
Very good. And we'll let that be the final word. Thank you so much, Dr. Fuhrman. Thank you for watching today. And remember, the 13th instant message, the 13th instant message that I receive will receive this lovely book, Compliments of Dr. Joel Fuhrman. Thank you, Dr. Fuhrman, for everything you do. And after all these years, to have that passion to heal is just so refreshing. So thank you, Dr. Fuhrman. Okay, guys, everybody, bye. We'll see you. Bye.